Hi guys.
Hey guys.
Welcome back to the channel.
Welcome back.
I'm Shalom Madijani.
And I'm Nisha Madijani. And this is our channel where we're sharing our debt-free journey.
Yeah.
I think like we said last week, when we started this channel, we thought we'd just share our journey on how to actually get out of debt. And we thought that would be it. Like, we're just gonna share.
Over,
but we didn't realize that that was like the foundation of our debt-free journey. So today we're doing something slightly different. We're not speaking about debt. Like, we're over it now. I'm joking. We're not. I'm kidding. But as you guys know, we are following some steps guided by Dave Ramsey on his 2 books. Actually, it's called Complete Guide to Money and The Total Money Makeover. A lot of people have asked. The books I think are available at Kum Books and Take a Lot. I think the one you might have to order, the Complete Money Makeover, but they are available and you can read them out, check them out for yourselves. Of course, what we share is not financial advice. This is just our experience on debt and how we manage to get out of it.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah.
So today it's step 3 and 4. So we decided to combine 3 and 4 essentially.
Is it 3 and 4?
Yeah. Step 3 is save.
Yeah.
And then step 4 is investment.
Yes. So that's sort of where we are right now.
Yes.
I think we did also mention in the last episode that we had sort of gotten out, or we were in step 3. And then so now we'll get into step 4 as well. So step 3 is basically about saving 3 to 6 months worth of household expenses, right? So obviously now that you're out of debt, these are things like children's school fees, medical aid, rent if you're renting, your bond if you're still paying a bond,
rates, levies,
groceries, utilities, everything that you use on a monthly basis, right? And so you basically tally that up, and I mean you already have a working budget, so you already have an idea, not even an idea, you know for sure what your monthly expenses look like. And so that's essentially what you're doing now. You're going to tally them up, and then 3 to 6 months worth of that you save just in case of an emergency, because remember the journey is about gaining financial peace. So in case anything happens, you know that your very, very basics are actually taken care of. So we started on that journey also, tallied up all of those expenses, and then what we did is, because it's an emergency fund, you also don't want to keep it locked up in like an investment account or like in a 32-day notice, because should an emergency happen, you're not really gonna have 32 days to wait until you access that cash. Exactly.
And actually, it should be the emergency fund, which should be in its own account because it's supposed to be fluid. But the 3 to 6 months expenses, because it's savings, that should be in a bit of a more rigid account, or how we decided to do it.
Yeah.
In that it's easier to just rather pay off those expenses ahead of time than keeping the money, let's say in a 7-day account or in a 32-day account, because you still have access to the money, and even if you'll wait 7 days or 32 days, if you want to spend the money,
I think it's Nicolette Mashile. I think she said in her book, she said idle money is gone money, in that if you don't assign something specific to an amount, whether it's a 5 rand, a 20 rand, 100 rand, 100,000 rand, if it's just sitting and looking pretty in your account, not gaining interest, not locked up or anything like that, you will spend it. Something will come up and that money will be gone. Yeah. And we experienced, I mean, we've topped up our savings like 50 million times until we actually realized that no, man, the best way to do this, because we know that these savings are for levies where we live and rates, we decided, okay, cool, then let's pay those months ahead, and then we just know that should an emergency happen, then we'd rather say we're not paying levies this month, but the levies are already taken care of months ahead.
And then you can use that cash for whatever. emergency, whatever you need to use it for, essentially.
Yeah, because essentially I need you've assigned it for that specific thing. So it's all your household expenses and petrol and all of that. So in essence, you're never not going to have those things.
Yes.
Because you've already paid them ahead.
Yes,
yeah.
True.
So essentially that's sort of what we did, which is really good. And I think one of the things I'll say to Shalom is that when we started this journey, we really didn't realize what we were doing. So it was just about getting out of debt. But since we both now are self-employed, it's actually now become such a solid foundation for us, because obviously if you're employed, let's say in a corporate environment, they have certain benefits for you in place. Yeah, like you're gonna get a salary. Yeah. You've got either a provident fund or whatever. You've got a lot of those benefits. But if you are self-employed, you have to set those things up for yourselves. And so this has actually given us like a nice foundation, because we could have cheated ourselves of not have of out of things like provident funds, which obviously is now our step 4, which we'll get into now. But all of those things, because of the baby steps, we're able to actually tick things off and know that there's actually a solid base for where we're at, should anything happen, because this is life.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So step number 4, do you want to get into that?
Okay. Kind of what's number 4? Number 4 is the saving. It's the investing.
This guy, he doesn't even know these babies.
Guys, sometimes anyway, it's the investing, and like she's already touched on it. The whole notion of, for us specifically, that we don't have benefits like provident fund and whatnot whatsoever. But even if you have provident fund, you have a retirement annuity and whatnot, it is always good to invest, because that money will serve you well in the future. True. In any case, it's the more money, the less problems. I know the other song says it the other way around, but the more money, I think the less problems you have. True. So, and a good base, and I think even Dave mentions it, that a good base would be 15% of your income. Yeah, somewhere around 15%. So let's say your provident fund then already takes the 15%. It's a good starting point, but it doesn't have to end there. Yeah. And that's the thing. So let's say your provident fund is already at 15%, because I remember when I was back in corporate, it was already at 15%. I think
mine was also Boomer.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there. You can, there are other things that you can invest in. There are many vehicles. And I mean, now NFTs and they're my big thing now, and a whole lot of other, shares and whatnot, stuff like that. Those are good, well, I suppose depending on how you do it, if you have the solid foundation advice, those are good places to put your money as an investment,
Yeah, and I think Dave Ramsey does touch on the different vehicles, but obviously things are different in the States and South Africa, so it's always good to consult someone. I mean, we have trusted people that we always consult when it comes to, things like setting up provident funds and whether it's buying shares. In fact, we haven't bought shares in years. The shares are things that we did while we were still in debt, when we didn't know, and then we just sort of put that on hold and focused on getting out of debt. But those are some vehicles that you can always inquire about, like get a financial advisor and actually ask, okay, where should I put my money? Do your research, because at the end of the day, we can't really give you that kind of that kind of advice. But I think another thing in terms of saving, because a lot of investment things generally want a lump sum, so I think one of the things that have helped us to sort of actually get lump sums initially was stokvels.
Yes.
And I don't take those things lightly, guys. They make such a big difference.
Yeah, no, they do.
Yeah, I think at any given point we were in at least 2 stokvels, and so we would then, they all had different reasons within the groups, but ultimately that's your money at the end of the year, and then you can use that how you best see, whether you're going to take that lump sum and put it towards your child's, they say child's education, but in South Africa, funds for education is not that big a deal. I think it's good enough to just have like some cash, stashed up. But stokvels are still very important. Even if you're just using it, especially if you're starting out to save, if you don't know how to save, like it'll hold you accountable because now you're saving with a group of people.
Yeah.
If you're just saving by something like, oh, I have my own savings account, you might find yourself like dipping into it quite often. So if you're saving in a large pool, number one, the interest is a little bit better, even though the interest for the past couple of years hasn't really been good. But also you can't just access it whenever. You have to wait until December, which is good.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, and then ultimately then you can use that money to either throw into a decent investment or buy shares or whatever it is that you decide to do.
And that we've invested in has been our own businesses.
Yes,
I mean, like we mentioned actually in the previous video about getting additional streams of income and whatsoever. And we find that it's good to, pour money into the established businesses and, all those things, unit trust and whatsoever. But sometimes, it's good to invest in yourself as well, whatever business that you are in, like myself, I'm in the tech industry. It makes sense for me to have a better laptop that will make things easier, and more efficient than a laptop I'll be crying about every night.
Yeah.
So I think that's also one of the good ways to,
And I think also, like, we don't think of it this way, is that you're actually a shareholder in your own business. Either you have all the shares or 50% of the shares or whatever the shareholding is, but if the same confidence, because I think that's one of the things that they speak about when it comes to investing, is that you need to do your research about a company, and be confident in what they're saying and doing and selling. But I think you can offer yourself the same kind of confidence and put in as much research in your own business. And just take yourself seriously enough to invest in yourself, because now I think there were certain times where I had to prove to us, that the business is worth us investing in, for whatever reason. And the same with you as well, where you'd say, I need to do this and this and this, but it needs, some injection of funds. So I think that's something that's very underrated, but I think it's quite important because ultimately these are going to become our big corporations, not just like we're not trying to do like little spaza shops. We're trying to actually build wealth even within the businesses that we're doing. So why wouldn't you invest in yourself?
Yeah, and also where your heart is, where your money is rather. That's where your heart will be,
Exactly.
So even if there's people's money in there and whatnot, but if your money is in there as well, you work so much more hard.
Grind and grind and grind. And I mean, there's no issue with getting an external investor. I mean, if you have, the opportunity and you're happy with it, why not? But I think also the benefit of, you having funds to invest in your own business is that you still have 100% ownership or whatever ownership you want. You can still keep it, which means, ultimate decision taking is with you, all of those benefits. So I think that's something that's very underrated, but so worth doing. I don't have any regrets with throwing in funds, but I think it also requires you to be still very disciplined. Because I was thinking about it the other day that when we wanted a car for the business, I initially wanted a Ford Ranger. I was like, and a friend of mine had a Ford Ranger, and she lent it to me. She was like, "Yo, if you need, to use the van, use it." I was like, "Oh my god!" And I said to her, I feel like this car just, I felt good in the car. We were able to work efficiently, during events. Everything was just smooth running. But when I looked at it, there was no way we were going to afford to buy it cash. I mean, it was like 450,000 rand. And I was just like, okay, well, so I could have been unrealistic about the car itself and been like, well, I want a Ford Ranger anyway, and we're going to get it. Yeah. Either we would have done it cash or not even cash. It was going to take like 3-4 years to raise the funds for it. Or we're going to end up doing it via credit. But then there was Nissan NP200, which offers the same efficiency. I mean, it's not as cool as a Range.
Not as high.
Not as high, not as fast. But you know what? It gets the job done, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's something like, I still want a Ford Ranger. I definitely want it. Like, I look at it and I'm just like, like, it's me, I am it, you know? But I think there was a certain level of discipline required. And also just being realistic. You know, just being really realistic. Okay, cool. Even if we had 450,000 rand to inject into the business, really should it be spent on one car?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you know what I mean? So I think that's the beauty of this whole journey, is that it's not just getting rid of debt, but it's also really just looking to set you up. Whether you are in corporate, whether you're in business, it provides such a solid foundation, and even for the kids also, because which we'll touch into a little bit next week, which is I think step 5, where you're now starting to pour into those children, because some of the things that we are trying to cancel with this whole thing is generational.
Yes.
Generational debt or curses, as they say, but we don't want our kids to have to talk about black tax and be like, yo, I have to send my mom money every month or things like that. So we try to set ourselves up so that in turn they are also set up. Yeah. So anyway, please keep the comments coming. We love interacting with you guys. Please do follow on Instagram. I'm at Hope Lihle. M and Shalom is Shalom and Lihle, because
I don't have my own, so
because everything of his is mine, you know? So we're both on that account, and then I'm on my account. Yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in. Do hit us up in the comment section. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and we will see you in the next episode.
Cheers.
Bye.